In this video, we want to visit different collections in Python. So what we are going to do is to go to File. Once we go there, we'll click on New Notebook because we want a new notebook. We want to get out of Python Lab 1 and start with Python Lab 2, where we will look at the different collection of objects, where we will visit dictionaries, lists, sets, and so on in Python. So I'll go to File, New Notebook. And under the new notebook, I'm going to give it the name Python Lab 2. So I'll just come here, double click. And hit enter. Now, right here, I'll change what we are doing. I'll just click here on text, okay? I want it to be of type text, and I will use 3 hashtags. Then I'll just say hit shift enter, and you can see what's there. Now for you to understand, I'll double click. You can add one more hashtag, shift enter. You can see the more hashtags you add, the smaller it gets, and if you reduce it, the bigger it is. Actually, you can even make it completely bold for that size. Shift enter, and there you go. So let's just leave it at that, okay? 2 hashtag with bold. Now you can see that to do bold, you just need to add 2 stars in front and after, but clicking there will do it automatically, and you can see how it looks like here. Shift enter, and there we go. Now I'll get rid of this empty space by simply clicking here on delete. So now we want to play with Python list. Now a list simply enables you to have a collection of objects, and for you to do that, you just need to throw in some square brackets to create your list. So this is a typical example of a list. We can simply start with econ data list. You see it's a list. And we have numbers. Now it can be a mixture. You may not just have numbers, but it can be a mixture. So let's see how to access the data in a list and how to manipulate data in a list. For example, you may have the test score of students, you may have the results, the lab results of or the weather. You can look at the temperature for a day and so on and so forth, but you can see it's directly one-dimensional. You don't have any key value pair or things like that. It's just data that is put in there. You can access it, you can manipulate it and do whatever you want with it, and we are going to see how to do that right now. So what if we want to access so here we want to access the list. If we simply do print data list, that's the variable we have here. Shift enter. Let's see what we get. So that's what we get. Now it becomes interesting if we define the elements we want to extract. So I'll come back here, just put this in there. So we want to print. Now we are going to specify that we want to go from 1 to 12 using a step of 2. Now, anyway, you can see that here you can actually comment your code immediately after your code. So when Python is running it, it's only going to execute this first part. It knows this is a comment. This is for you. It says print elements 2 to 12, jumping 2 elements at a time. So let's run it. We will have this printed one, and we will be able to compare and see how this looks like. Shift enter, and there we go. So we see it starts from 2. So it's going 2, 4, it's going 2 at a time, okay? Steps of 2, and that's what we have. Now the beauty of the list is that it's mutable. You may use different types of data. You may mix integers, floats, and numeric things. It really doesn't matter, and you can add and remove. You can change the size of it. So we've already defined our econ data list. Let's see how we can add some data to it. Now, how do we go about doing that? Here, for example, I say adding single elements. We want to create a range of 5 numbers. In other words, we can go from 0 to 5. And now I want to use a for loop to add the data which is here. So when it says for x in range 5, so we are going from 0 to 4. If you look at the data we have here, this is what we have in our econ list. We are going to use append. So to this econ list, we are going to be adding the values we have here. So we are saying append. So it's going to add it. And now let's see, after it's added it, we want to print it to see what's in it. And for that, we just get in here, print econ data list, shift enter, and there we go. So we can see that for the first one, it started with 14. This is the original. So we have 0, which is added, 1, 2, 3, 4, which is exactly what you have if you print this. If you just print range 5, you are going to have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's a bit what we have as a new list. So the beauty of using a for loop in such a situation is that it's going to go element by element. You are adding one element at a time. So you see, this is the final thing. You have one element at a time. Now, what if we want to add a bunch of it at one time? Let's say you wanted to add 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all of it instantaneously. Then you don't need to use a for loop. Let's run something like that. Here we have the GDP list. This is your dummy GDP values. And here we'll just say GDP list. GDP list. We want to extend it by this number. So we want to extend what we have here by the values we have there. And then we print the new GDP list. So this is our list. We are extending it using this function, and we will print it to see what's in it. Shift enter, and there we go. So we've extended this by that. So that's the beauty of list. Now we can choose not to use a function like extend and just use a plus, and it's still going to do the job. So let's take a look at this code. So we are adding multiple elements in a list. Let's go with this list. And these are some additional elements we want to add to this particular list so that it goes from 1 to 14. We can simply use plus equal, and it's going to do the job, and we print what the variable is. So I'll go with shift enter, and there we go. It has added it. So we could have used extend a bit as we did here, or we just go with plus equal. Now, after seeing how to add elements to a list, what about removing elements? So to remove elements, you can simply use pop, and pop will remove the last element. So pop, and you use your brackets around it. It's a function, so it's going to get rid of the last element. So let's shoot it, shift enter. And here we go. You see 10 is gone. Now, what if we want to get rid of a specific element from it? So let me come here and put another quote. And here we want to get rid of this particular element. Now, this element, it's the number. So it's going to count 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so the fourth element we left will be kicked out. Now, it's important to know that in Python, it goes from 0. It's a 0 index language. So you always start from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So if you say get rid of element 4, this is not what it's going to get rid of. It will count 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. It will get rid of that. So if we do that and I hit shift enter, you can see that this is the new one. You can see that 0, 1, 2, 3, this is the element that has been popped. It has gotten rid of this element. Okay. So this time we want to take a look at how to use the remove method to get rid of an element. We are no more using pop. We are now using remove. So you have this famous economist. Let's say we want to get rid of Marx, and if we apply it to this list using dot remove Marx. Let's shift enter. There you go. Now, I earlier said that a list doesn't care. It can take numeric, it can take whatever value you want. Let's say we decide to get rid of maybe Hayek and put 10. Of course, you don't put it between quotes when you are dealing with numbers. Let me say 12.5, because here you have an integer, you have a float. So if I run it, you'll see, shift enter. You can see that yes, it got rid of Marx, but it can mix things. So whenever you see a bracket, you are dealing with a collection of elements, of objects, and here we simply call it a list in Python. So let's look at the last way of getting rid of certain elements in a list, certain objects. So here we want to remove elements using the del keyword. So this is a list of economists, and we want to get rid of elements in the specified range. Remember, I've said if you are counting, you start from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you want to get rid of elements which are between 2 to 4, so we start with 0, 1, 2. So you are going from 2, this is the third one, and this is the fourth. So let's run it so that you see how it deals with these elements. Shift enter, and you can find that these elements, if you 0, 1, 2, so Smith, you have 0, 1, the second element is gone, the third element is gone, however the fourth one is gone. So you understand it goes from 2 to 4 exclusive. So the fourth one will not be expelled. If you do, let's say 5, it means Hayek. It means you want to get rid of this. Okay, so you are counting 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. The fifth one will not go. This is what will happen. So shift enter, and that's exactly what goes. Hayek, and you start again from means. Okay, so now what if we have a list and we want to do what we call slicing? In other words, you want to extract specific elements. Now, we want to extract specific elements from this list. We want to go from 1 to 5. Okay, we want to extract 1 to 5. Count so here we were deleting using the del function. Here we want to extract using this. So we have 0, 1. So we are going 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we want to extract elements. Okay, so generally if we say 1, so 0, 1, it starts from 1. So you will see if it includes the fifth one or not. Okay, so let's run this, shift enter, and here we go. You can clearly see 0, 1, it takes 1, it takes the second, third, and fourth. So fifth is always exclusive. Whenever you see this, it means the fifth one is exclusive. We are going from 1 inclusive to 5 exclusive. That's what it does. Now, what if we want to extract everything that comes before 5? That's pretty straightforward. All we have to do is we put nothing here. When we put nothing here, it understands that the default is 0. And if the default is 0, so putting nothing here means you've put 0. It means it's counting everything, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's going to, let's do shift enter. You can see it has extracted everything from 0. Now in this case, we want to reverse it. We are not having a number in the after this, but we are placing it here. So this is telling us you should start from 1. However, you should start from 1 and go all the way to the end. So this by default just means go all the way to the last element. So if you are looking at the values you have here, this is always 0, then you have 1. Okay, so this is your first element. Let's shoot it, shift enter, And you can see it starts from here and it goes all the way to Stieglitz. That's just what it does. Now let's take a look at some interesting examples. Let's, for example, say we just want the last one and we don't know how many elements are there. Here, for example, you can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So if you want to know what is here, you just give it 7. Okay. So let's, for example, if for example I just say 7, shift enter, then I have Stieglitz because I know exactly it is 7 starting from 0. It's the 7th. Now, if I don't know the number, all I have to do is just give -1. -1 will always give me the last element in a list or the last object. So shift enter, it gives me Stieglitz. If I say -2, shift enter will give me this one. Same thing, if I say give me element 0, shift enter will give me the first element of the list, which is Keynes, and so on. And if I say 2, it should give me the third element of the list, which is Smith. Now, what if I want it to give me the last 2 elements? All I need to do is to say shift, and I can do this and say negative. Okay, negative, so it's going to start from the last 2 till the end. And we know the last 2 is, so if I start here, this is the last 1, the last 2, and it will take everything. Let me just say the last 4 for it to start at Hayek. Shift enter, and you can see it starts from Hayek and it goes all the way till the end. So this just helps you to be able to slice through a list. So a list starts with a square bracket, and we've taken a look at a few methods to access or to manipulate the elements in a list. In the next video, we'll be taking a look at tuples. Now, the difference between a list and a tuple is that in a tuple, you just cannot change things, or you cannot, it's what we call immutable. You cannot just be changing numbers, inserting new numbers, and so on. If you've created, for example, economist list, you cannot be adding or removing things. It's not mutable. Okay, have fun. One of the things you should know is learn once, learn well. If you really spend time and master this, it will serve you well as we move on in our study. Ciao.